Is it recording?
Red light's on, right?
Yeah. No, it's blinking.
Blinking.
Yeah.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Todd White, and I'm going to be introducing hiring policy to you all by discussing how a company can plan for their staffing needs. After I present, Krista McGlynn will come up and talk about the applicant tracking system and how to properly open and post a job position. Then Dan Wolf will talk about how to properly screen for best qualified candidates and the methods in which you can do so. Brandon Bowen will then come up and talk about the topic of how to properly prepare to interview a candidate, as well as the topic of how to properly conduct an interview to a candidate. Courtney Quinn will then finalize the presentation by talking about how to properly select and notify the candidate that they have been hired and finalizing the whole hiring process. So what is hiring policy? Hiring policy is just essentially the whole hiring process in general. It is how human resource managers and hiring managers recruit and hire employees. There are many ways in which hiring policy can be executed, so it is important to take note that not all the same procedures will be followed as you see coming up. It is important that HR and hiring managers know exactly what the staffing needs of the organization are. In order to determine staffing needs of your organization, you could conduct an analysis pertaining to how well their organizational structure is currently performing, or you could just perform an analysis pertaining to how well their organizational performance is just going in general and if they need any new jobs. And position openings are open within a company, and they could be due to various reasons. Reasons for position openings may be due to employees voluntarily choosing to leave the company, or the company just creating new positions within the organization. Position openings may also be due to the company being understaffed and employees being overwhelmed with the amount of work that they have. It is important that HR is notified of any position openings in the organization or managerial requests to create new positions within the organization. When creating the requisition, the hiring manager must have already completed it and must state whether the position is a current position, a revised position, or a new position entirely. If the job currently exists, the next step would be to review and verify the job analysis. The job analysis is important because it is directly related to the job description, and it is important that it is accurate so the job can be evaluated properly. If the job is a new position, you would have to conduct a job analysis from scratch. Next would be to determine the budget to determine if they actually can afford the new hire. Many people actually underestimate the costs of hiring an employee, and such costs include recruiting costs, training costs, determining the wages for the new employee, or equipment and supply costs if the job is a new position. If the job actually is a new position, you would construct a form for budget. You would have that verified by the hiring manager, and you would have that approved by the President of Human Resources. Basically, in the form for budget, you're just going to have if the position is a replacement position or a new position, the title of that position, and the proposed salary of that position. Recruiting costs are important to know because it is important to know which methods of recruiting you're going to use, as well as how long you're willing to spend on each method. Methods of recruiting could include newspaper listings or job search websites, or you could outsource your recruiting to a specialized company, although that can be a costly expense. The company will also have to determine the proper wage to offer the candidate. There are many factors that will factor into what wage you will offer the candidate, and such factors include the organization's ability to pay, the cost of living in the region, or the current supply and demand for work in the industry that they're trying to hire in. Training costs are also essential because if you don't train the employees properly, or you don't provide sufficient resources for the training, the employees will probably not meet your required expectations. Training can be outsourced, computer-based, which I know firsthand, through mentorship or just learning by doing. Equipment and supply costs will be a big cost for the company if the job is new because they might have to buy items that they didn't have at the company before, such as extra office space, furniture, computers, phones, printers, software, or other tools necessary to accommodate the position. Once the budget has been approved, the next step would be to review and verify the accuracy of the job description. As discussed in our class, the job description is an overview of the tasks, duties, and responsibilities required out of the employee. It is important that it is accurate, otherwise it could lead to job dissatisfaction, which I will talk about later on in a personal experience of mine. If the job is new or replacing another position, you would have to conduct a job analysis first before you construct and verify the job description. If the job is revised or new, you would send that revised job description along with a job classification form to the manager of compensation and benefits. This is just a sample job classification form that I found from a university website. Basically, the first half is the form for budget that I showed earlier. The important part of this form is the bottom where you see the white space. That's where you're going to put the new tasks, duties, and responsibilities that are required out of this position that weren't present in the present position that it's replacing. So now to a little personal experience of mine. I worked at a big chain retail store where I sold appliances and I worked on commission. Upon looking at the job and applying for it, when I read the job description, I was told that the main duties of the job were to provide a customer-friendly experience, resolve customer issues, and just sell merchandise such as washers and dryers. But about a week into the job, I realized that the description wasn't entirely accurate. A big issue that I ran into was that on a daily basis, I would have to move merchandise often by myself, such as the washers and dryers. But I was commissioned, I wasn't getting paid to do it. And it also began to take a toll on my body because I'm a lanky guy. So an issue that I also ran into was that all of the employees that were above me wouldn't take part in it. They would abuse their lunch breaks, they would fall asleep on the job, or they would just regularly interact with the customers because they would get paid doing that as opposed to just doing the necessary dirty work to get the job done. And I chose to leave because of that reason. So just a little recap, we talked about an overview of the hiring policy and what it is. We talked about the job analysis and how it should be reviewed. We talked about the importance of reviewing the budget to determine if the company can afford the new hire. We talked about the job description. We talked about a personal experience of mine, and now next up will be Kristen McGlynn, who will be talking about the applicant tracking system, as well as how to properly open and post a job position.
Thank you, Todd. So as Todd just mentioned, I will be talking about the applicant tracking system. I'm going to talk about how to open and post a job position. I'll talk about job descriptions and some websites that use the applicant tracking system. So what is the applicant tracking system? It's the second step in the staffing plan template, and this is where you open and post a job position. It's a software application that enables the handling of recruitment needs, and on the next slides I will discuss further in detail about it. So the applicant tracking system is designed for tracking purposes. Most recruitment agencies and corporations with an in-house recruitment function use some form of applicant tracking system to handle job postings, resumes, and interviews. Applicant tracking systems are very helpful throughout the entire hiring process. So next I'm going to discuss data collection, and data can either be collected internally or externally. If it's collected internally, it's through an application via ATS on the company website, or it is extracted from applicants on job boards. Job resume boards such as LinkedIn, Career Builder, Hot Jobs, and Monster are all affiliated with some sort of applicant tracking system. So applicant tracking systems providers help provide data migration from one system to another, and they really make the hiring process go smoother and help both the employer and the applicant. An example of an applicant tracking system is Bamboo HR, and this is the example that we used in a previous lecture. So there's two important steps that need to be completed. The first step in the system is requesting for the position authorization form with the required approvals, and the second step is coming up with your job description. As some of you may have noticed on the staffing plan template, there's a lot of signatures and approval forms that need to be completed. So some approval that needs to happen come from the hiring manager, the VP of HR, the president and VP of HR and finance, and an existing position requires signatures from the VP of HR and finance and the hiring manager and division VP of HR. And another aspect to be mindful of is that jobs paying more than $100 grand a year require approval from the president. So as some of you may know already, the job description is a formal account of an employee's responsibilities. A great job description will not only specify the skills, but it will also promote your company. So before sending for approval, all information must be accurate. There needs to be confirmation that the requested details are provided. The requested details consist of the position, the type of employment, and budget and salary information. Before the position is posted, there are two more steps that need to be completed. The first is reviewing the ad draft sent from employment, and the second is determining any critical questions that might assist in the pre-screening process. And this is really helpful because it will help the process go more smoothly because you're thinking in advance of the critical questions. So Snag a Job connects people searching for jobs with job openings, and they focus on creating an instant and quality connection. The applicant tracking system makes it easy to view, screen, sort, and prioritize applicants. I'm sure many of you know what LinkedIn is and most likely have an account with them, and they have what they call LinkedIn Talent Solution Preferred Partner Program, and this program includes a list of leading applicant tracking system providers who have committed to supporting some of LinkedIn's most important products, such as LinkedIn Recruiter and LinkedIn Referrals. Working with an LTS, Talent Solution Preferred Partner, will help ensure that your applicant tracking system works as seamlessly as possible, and it will help recruiters, hiring managers, talent professionals, and candidates to be as efficient and productive as possible. So next is Career Builder, and they're very similar to LinkedIn, and they also help connect employers with people searching for job openings. Career Builder has established applicant tracking system partners that help companies integrate with their Career Builder apply path, and this will help job seekers benefit from a cleaner and faster application process. And Indeed is also the same as Career Builder and very similar to LinkedIn. They really help job seekers find job openings, and connected applicant tracking systems integrate with Indeed Apply to simplify the application process. So now for some personal experience, I've used Snag a Job in the past to get a waitressing job with Buffalo Wild Wings. And basically, I just put some personal information on Snag a Job's website, like my name, some references, and my availability. And then I applied through that website and sent my resume through. And then I guess the applicant tracking system sorted through my resume, and some words got through to their recruiter, and then they eventually looked at my resume, and that's how I got my job and my interview. So basically Snag a Job was a platform that connected me with getting my waitressing job. And for more personal experience, I'm using Career Builder currently to look for a job after graduation, and it's really easy to use, and I can just post my resume on there, and then I can apply to any job that I think I might fit into or whose job description that I really like. And I'm sure many employers that use Career Builder that post their job postings use some form of applicant tracking system to sort through resumes. So now just for a review of what I talked about today, I talked about the applicant tracking system, what it is and what it's designed for. I talked about data collection, how it's used internally and externally. I went into the staffing plan template and the approval forms and signatures that are needed when opening and posting a job. And then I ended with some personal experience in some websites that use the applicant tracking system. So I want to thank you guys for listening, and I hope that some of what I talked about was useful for you. And next up is Dan.
Alright, cool. So I'm going to be talking about finding the best candidates for an open position. If you don't know, this is Dwight Schrute from The Office. He's the top salesman at Dunder Mifflin with some generally good advice about not doing dumb things. So if you all want to absorb that real quick until the time runs out for the slide, that would be great. Yeah. So when you're trying to figure out where to find a candidate for a new or vacant position, there's internal recruitment and external recruitment. So internal recruitment consists of finding people that are already within an organization for a position, either as a promotion or moving sideways. And external recruitment consists of picking people that aren't already within the organization, and they both have pros and cons. So some pros for external recruitment. If you're recruiting somebody from a rival company, they can provide intelligence unless they signed a confidentiality agreement. So that can be kind of competitive depending on what the job is. New people also bring new perspectives and new ideas that might not be available in the company with the current people that you have. And if you hire people that are already trained for a position, that's less development costs for you. So some cons for external recruitment, as you can see in the picture, if you hire somebody from outside the company, people from within the company who have applied might be kind of upset. So it can cause some personnel and morale problems in there. It also